Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again, and as you guys can tell, I am pretty sick. Uh, yeah, it's terrible. But I'm fighting through watching these Insidious movies. I just finished watching Insidious Chapter 3. This movie is a giant pile of shit, and it's really like one of the worst. Well, not really one of the worst, but one of the worst sequels I've ever seen, because it's so obvious what they're doing here. You can see it all. It's very, very transparent. First off, I mean, one of the most cringeworthy things of the movie is that they have a jump scare as a part of the opening credits. The movie opens up, there's like a blank screen, nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden it goes, and it shows the Insidious 3 title thing, and it's like, really? The title of the movie had to be a jump scare too? Like, you're really trying that hard? Like, see, this is what I mean. Like, why did people buy into this crap when it came to, like, modern horror movies? Because, like, there have been some good ones. There's some ones that are okay. Like, Paranormal Activity, I thought was okay. I admired how they did a lot with a little. And that movie didn't have as many jump scares as this. I mean, this movie, it had so many jump scares. It was like they were doing it like every couple of minutes. It reminds me of like how John Carpenter, he said when he wrote Halloween, he would have a kill every 10 pages or something, or whatever, like a radio play or something. I can't remember what he said. But, like, he had a specific number of pages until he got to the next kill. And it reminded me of, like, this movie of, like, oh, they have a quota, a jump scare quota in this movie now. Like, it's bad enough that the first one had all these crappy jump scares, and the second one, but this one has, like, a quota where it's like, we have to have jump scares. And it's also by Blumhouse. The only positive thing about this movie being Blumhouse is that the color is back into the movies, like it was with Part 2. I do like that. That is the only positive thing that I have to say about this movie, honestly. They're also doing the exact same thing that they did with the Saw series, which is make stories take place before the best character in the series died, so that character can be a big part of the film. So, I mean, they don't learn their lesson. They've said now years later that they regret killing off John Kramer. And what did they do with Elise? They killed her off in the first movie. That's pretty bad. So this movie takes place in the past. It's very, very unnecessary. It doesn't add anything at all to the story. I mean, they had this thing where they had this really misleading summary where they said that this added a lot to the Further. It added a lot to the mythology of the Further. And I didn't see where it did that at all. I didn't see, objectively, I don't see anywhere in the movie where it actually added substance to the mythology of the Further. Like, that is literally not a thing, but it says that it is in the film's summary. It says, this is about a new family that nobody cares about. It's called the Nobody Cares family. It's very stereotypical, too. It's like, I've seen this a million times, where you have the dad, he's struggling because his wife died, and there's an older kid and a younger kid, and the older kid is taking charge. And, yeah, we've seen that a million times. And this family is really, really generic and boring, and they don't really have chemistry as a family. Um, but I just thought the movie, it did not add mythology to the further. It just had a bunch of cringeworthy callbacks and kind of Easter eggs. And I can just imagine when this movie came out, Scream Rant probably came out with an article and it said, here's top 10 things that you missed in Insidious 3. Number 1, did you catch the part where Elise showed the picture of the ghost from part 1? That was from the first movie. Did you know that? Or are you completely stupid? Like movie studios think you are, So this is, and also, this main character, they have this queer little thing at the beginning of the movie where she likes to blog her food. And it's very queer because we don't even really get to see what she's eating. Like, usually in these scenes, you'd show the girl take a picture, and then you'd show the picture on the screen or something. We don't get to see that here. It's just kind of like a character quirk. But she's eating like a croissant with maple syrup, and then like with a cherry tomato on the side. It's really, really weird. A weird breakfast. And she never does that again in the entire movie, by the way. She never blogs her food again. So it just makes you wonder, like, what was the point of that? It's just a character quirk. And then her dad, I know that this is Dermot Mulroney. He was not good in this movie. He was really bad. I mean, I don't think I really liked anyone in this movie except for the people from the other ones. But even then, it was just like this story was very unnecessary. It's also kind of funny because, at the end of the second Insidious, you had that completely new story that they already set up. I mean, why would you not show that story if you set it up? They had this family, and it's a Latino family. And what did they do in this movie? Like, they whitewashed the family, and it's like, oh, this is all about some random white family in the past, and their story sucks too. Like, like the story that they set up at the end of the second one was a lot more interesting. It was a lot scarier. I mean, especially because the second movie ended on Elise seeing this monster and screaming as if it was very horrifying. And also, I actually, when I saw the ending of the second one, I was under the impression that this was going to be about that family. And so, because when I look at the poster for Insidious 3, or at least the poster that I see, it has the main girl on the front, Quinn. It's really funny because I don't know if they did this on purpose. It would be a very weird thing to do. But they made her skin darker on the poster. So the main girl in this movie, she's clearly like a white girl. She is not any shades of anything. She's just white bread, white all over. On the poster, her skin is kind of darkened, and she looks Latina. And so, like, when I saw this poster from far away, I assumed that this was going to be about that Latina family. And so I was really surprised by that. Like, what the fuck is this? And, let's see, what else? The dialogue in this movie is really bad. They also, I don't know, they have some really weird plot lines that they never follow through on. First off, the whole plot of, like, the dad kind of being in his daughter's way and kind of, like, expecting her to just take care of the brother, that plot line is never resolved. It's never even kind of confronted. And then she has this friend, Well, no, okay, let's talk about. There's this other guy because they live in this apartment building. They're kind of trying to do like a Rosemary's Baby type thing, like, but if Rosemary's Baby was retarded, and and there's this guy that lives in the apartment building, and he's got a crush on the main character, and at the same time, the main character is friends with this other girl who's like a very flamboyant lesbian. And I really didn't get it. Like, they kind of hinted at her being lesbian, but it was like, they weren't in a relationship. But were they, or they're not? It really didn't make sense to me. But then they had this weird part where these guys came by, and of course all the guys were straight white males, because they had to start, putting agendas into this Insidious series. And so they walk by and they're like, oh, look, it's the lesbi friends. And it's like, what is that? Like, what does that mean? Like, are they in a relationship or not? And then it's like, yeah, one of them is clearly a lesbian. She then responds to them and says some weird, stupid line about how there's no Jesus camp around here or something. It's really weird. And then she gets up and she's walking away, and she says, okay, lesbo, let's go. And it's like, I don't get it. Are they lesbian or not? And then after that, we have some kind of uncomfortable interaction with the girlfriend and the girl and the guy in the apartment when they all come to visit her for something that I'll talk about now. They come to visit her, and they have kind of this weird thing where it's like, I don't know, like, I really can't read because these actors are not very good. This whole movie's kind of like a straight-to-DVD movie. I can't believe that people would pay to see this in theaters. You better believe this movie would be low on my list for whatever the year this is. If I paid to see this in a theater, probably be at the very bottom, underneath like the worst shit that I've seen. But like, I just couldn't figure out, like, is it this weird dynamic of like a modern movie where like the main guy is in love with a girl who's lesbian? Like, is that what they're trying to do here? Like, I didn't get it. It was just very stupid, really unnecessary. They didn't have to make the main girl anything. Like, they didn't have to even kind of tell you if she's straight or lesbian. They could have just had it to where she's single, whatever. But they just did some weird things, and they never followed through. The boyfriend, or I mean, he's not the boyfriend, but he should have been. The guy who's interested in her, he drops off the face of the earth in the movie, and he never comes back. and neither does her friend. Like, these characters were introduced in the beginning of the movie. It's like, oh, are they going to play an important part in the movie? No, they're just, they're characters, God, I mean, another thing, too, that's kind of like a plot hole, is that something that should have been kind of expounded upon is that if there's this evil ghost in this apartment building that's preying on people, it's supposedly killed this wife of this black couple, his wife dies randomly so that she can become a plot convenience later in the movie. But he never terrorizes the boyfriend. He never terrorizes the potential boyfriend of this girl. So it's like, what the fuck is up with that? Like, that guy who's got a crush on her, he lives in the same apartment building as them. He lives like a couple of rooms down, and somehow he's not getting haunted at all. Like, he's not even, he doesn't even hear any noises, any weird noises or anything. Like, it's really, really dumb. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. Like, and the fact that, like, this movie should have been so easy to do. Because this is an apartment building movie. It's a movie where it just takes place mostly in this one setting. and, you know, you have this limited amount of characters. It really wouldn't have been very hard to do this movie. You know, usually movies like this, they're considered like easier movies to do. Because like, you know, you have the one setting and you have the limited amount of characters. Like, why introduce those characters if they don't mean shit? And the main girl, they have a big jump scare where she gets randomly run over by a car. It's really funny. And then while she's being treated, she's somehow able to astral project into the further. And this is the part that's really queer too. Somehow, when she got run over by a car, her spirit split in half, and half of it is in the further, and half of it is in the real world. And it's like, I'm sorry, that's not how things work. You know, like, that's not... I don't know. It's really dumb. It doesn't make sense at all. And there's a jump scare too, where the jump scare is she comes back to life. And I was thinking too, you know, are they really trying to fill in boxes here? Because you think about this main girl, she might be lesbian. We don't ever find out. You know, we're not allowed to know. But she also becomes crippled after this accident. So it's like, she's lesbian and she's crippled. I mean, that is definitely some diversity, equity, and inclusion checkbox stuff right there. And there's another shitty jump scare where Elise is sleeping, and then all of a sudden she wakes up. And I'm not kidding, that's the jump scare. She's sleeping, and then all of a sudden, they play a loud noise and she wakes up. Like, wow, what the hell is that? Like, that's not a jump scare. It's stupid. And then there's also lots of obvious trailer moments, which, if you don't know what that means, it means that there are moments in a movie that feel like they're shot in a specific way to where they're obviously made to be put in a trailer to promote the movie. So she's video chatting with her lesbian friend. And the lesbian friend is like, who's that in the video call with you? Who's that standing next to you? And it's like, oh shit, oh look, there's a ghost. Oh no, she's next to a ghost, oh no. And then she looks around and she sees the scary ghost. You know, that was very, very predictable, very, very queer, and like a modern movie type of thing. Like, oh, a ghost is standing next to the person on a video call. You know, that's just, I hated this movie so bad. It was so soulless. It was so, you know, just nothing about this movie spoke to me in a way that it felt like this needed to be made or anything. Like, it just felt completely unnecessary. And there's a hilarious part where the demon wheels her down the hallway, this main girl, Quinn, and he just flings her into an empty room. It's pretty hilarious. Like, he just throws her in there, and then he walks away. And then there's this hilarious Easter egg where Elise shows a photo of the tranny ghost from parts 1 and 2. And she said that the tranny ghost told her that she's going to kill her one day. Or no, she didn't say it that way. She said it in a way that's even more retarded than you would think. She said, the tranny ghost told me that she's gonna kill me with her hand one day. And it's like, oh, that is so stupid. Like, you just have to put these stupid Easter eggs in here, like things that don't make any sense and aren't really cool at all. Like, you know, for all the bad stuff that Better Call Saul did in the later seasons, they had some really smart moments throughout the series too. Like for instance, one of the funnier moments, of course, was when Jimmy, he tells this girl that he's Kevin Costner, and they show her with him the next morning, and he wakes up and she's like, "You're not Kevin Costner," and he was like, "But I was last night." And like, see, that was a great, simple, funny moment. The audience understood where that moment came from. They understood, oh yeah, that makes me think of that moment from Breaking Bad. But this is just so obvious and so desperate to like get the audience's attention. It's like, oh look, something happened. You remember that from the first movie or the second movie? Remember that? Remember that? Like, that's the only reason why they did that. Because another thing is, you think about how stupid is Elise if she was warned years ago by the tranny ghost that she would kill her. Like, that's pretty bad that she knew all along. And also, another reason why this movie sucks is that there's never a scene in the movie where Rose Byrne bends over in the kitchen. That's an automatic failing grade for this movie. Of course, Rose Byrne isn't in this movie at all. None of the family is. And so the main girl gets possessed and by the bad ghost somehow too. Because first they say that he took half of her soul, but he was also able to possess her, which I just don't know how that works. Like, if he has half of her soul, then how is he also able to possess her at the same time? This is just so over the top, and it's just so far away from what it was trying to be like in the first movie, where it was trying to be realistic, you know what I mean? We also see how Elise and Tucker and Specs met. So Tucker and Specs, apparently, they were a part of this kind of prank show. It was like a fake ghost hunting show. And so they're trying to help this family. And then Elise comes, and Elise, this whole movie, she keeps on quitting and then changing her mind over and over again. And if you think about it, if Elise had just done her job in the beginning of the movie, and had just easily beat these ghosts like she was able to, then this movie would have been over after like 20 minutes. Because another thing is that Elise doesn't even have a character arc in this movie. Like, just because she decides to do readings and then quits and then decides not to and just like quits again, that's not a character arc. Just because she goes back and forth. And then there's also a cringeworthy part where the tranny ghost strangles Elise, and she says, "This is how you die." And then Elise says, "Not today it isn't," and she pushes her away. That was stupid. And I would also like to mention, this moment kind of made me think about a funny story, a very short story that I will tell, actually about a theater class, about acting class. So in acting class in high school, there were a lot of types of people in that class. Some were very cool. Some were very quiet. Some were just there to get the credit, the art credit. But then there were some people who were really, really annoying. Like, there were these people, and they were like in a little clique, and they were very loud and obnoxious and annoying. And they were allowed to be because it's theater class, so that's even worse. But there was this one guy, and he was kind of like one of the main people that I worked with. And I thought that he was cool. But he exposed himself as like really, really beyond stupid. Because there was this one day, and I don't know why it came up, I don't know. Trannies, for some reason, they come up once in a while in conversation. And he got really mad at me for saying the word tranny, because he said that tranny is a slur and it's a hateful slur. And I was like, that's complete bullshit. Like, trannies call themselves trannies. There's porn and they have this genre. They have all the genres on the porno websites listed around. Do they have what's the genre called? It's called trans or tranny porn. And that's a genre that they have listed on the side or in the corner or whatever. Like, they don't call it whatever, trans woman porn. They call it tranny or trans porn. And so the fact that, like, and it's just another thing of, like, this is how bad society has gotten, that you have this, like, straight white guy, and he's like this wormy little biatch, and he's trying to, like, speak for all trans people and say that that's a slur. And so it got so bad, he went to the teacher, or maybe I did, because I thought maybe the acting teacher would not be mentally retarded. And so I just asked the simple question, is tranny a slur? And the teacher said yes. And that was the moment where I completely lost any sort of respect for that teacher, because I thought, that is the stupidest shit I've ever heard. It's not true. It's a lie. It's just it's dumb. And since I was talking about Breaking Bad earlier, this was also the same acting teacher, by the way, that he got really mad that I wore a Breaking Bad shirt to school. And for reference, I had been wearing Breaking Bad shirts to school since middle school. I had like 3 Breaking Bad shirts. And the shirt that I wore in particular, it was literally just Heisenberg. The drawing of the goatee and the hat and the glasses, I think. And he pulled me aside and said that was bad because it was about drugs. And I tried to tell him, like, no, the show is not promoting drugs at all. And he didn't even care. And he said I wasn't allowed to wear it to school because it's against the rules. And it's like, he's literally, like, so many teachers saw those shirts before. They didn't care at all. He was the only one who cared. And so, like, that's another reason why he was really, really dumb. So, yeah. I don't know. I mean, see, that stuff's more interesting to talk about than this fucking movie. This movie sucks. And then Elise, she confronts the main bad guy. This guy that has a breathing mask on. He's like some random old guy with a breathing mask. And she says, "You may have half of her, but I am whole. And I am very strong." And I thought, who wrote this shit right here? You may have half of her, but I am whole, and I am very strong. Like, oh. Like, I thought, like, I was sparing myself by not watching Madam Web today. And then Elise has to return half of the main character to the movie. That's kind of her mission here. I wasn't really sure what she was going to do, honestly, because I thought, is someone even going to die in this movie? Like, because this is a prequel. You can kill anyone you want, And then also, we see the half of the girl, the other half, and all that he's doing to her is he's giving her a hug, and he's, like, cuddling with her. So basically, I guess this bad guy, all he wanted to do was hug this girl for all eternity. Like, that's all that he wanted to do. He didn't want to fuck her up or anything. He just wanted to give her a hug. And then somehow, she's able to defeat the bad guy literally by just pulling off his breathing mask. And it's like, that was such a weak and stupid way to defeat this character. And it's like something that, like, couldn't she have figured that out at the beginning of the movie? Like, there's this evil ghost, he has a breathing mask, just take it off. And another thing is that it's such a stupid thing, too, because you think about, why would a ghost, ghosts don't breathe. Why would a ghost need a breathing mask? Like, that is just stupid. Like, because if you think about that, does a ghost need a ventilator? Does a ghost need blood transfusions? Does a ghost need enemas? Like, do ghosts get constipated? Do ghosts pee? What is up with that? And also, the way that they figure out how to defeat him is even dumber. The mom finally whispers in the ear of Elise, and she tells her that in her diary, or no, it's actually even more complicated and stupid. The wife of the black guy who died randomly, she was barely in the movie. She whispers in the ear of Elise and tells Elise that that the main girl's mom wrote her a page in her diary so that she could tell her how to defeat the bad guy. And she conveniently never found this page in her diary. It was literally right there in her diary, and somehow she never found it. And so then, at the same time, instead of them telling the main girl how to defeat her, her mom comes onto the further and whispers in the ear of the main girl while she's being trapped by the main guy how to defeat. See, you guys see how stupid and complicated they made it? Like, they really didn't have to do that. And then they have this whole little sweet thing where he gets defeated and she talks with her mom and, ugh. And then finally, Elise and her two teammates, they walk into the sunset together. That was stupid. And it was so, like, obvious what they were doing, too, because, like, showing how they met up and everything. And they even showed, like, how is it that Specs, that all he does is, like, write stuff down and draw pictures? Well, because when they met, that's all that he was able to do. And, because he wrote their blog or something. He wrote the article, so, that's what it translated into. And then at the end, Elisa's like, we should go into business together. Or one of them says that, and it's like, oh, God. Like, why did they have to do this? And then finally, Elise is at home, and they imply, really weird, they imply that Elisa's dead husband somehow bought her, like, a special outfit, a sweater to wear, and he put it on her bed. And I don't know, they acted like the sweater was, like, her magical outfit, and she puts it on. And finally, the movie ends with an unnecessary jump scare. I won't even say what it is, but yeah, this movie was just, it didn't even feel like a movie. It just felt like a DLC. It reminds me a lot of, if you guys ever played the Batman games, Arkham Knight, it had this really bad DLC side quest thing. Or, no, wait, it had quite a few, and they were all really, really pointless and lame. And that's another thing that I really hate about video games is DLCs. Because it's like, you pay $70 for a video game, all that stuff should be in the game already. You shouldn't have to pay extra shit to get those DLCs. And they had this really dumb DLC where it was just this meaningless, insignificant story about Robin and Batgirl going on a mission together to fight the Joker and Harley at the circus or wherever, the fair. And it was just such a meaningless story and such a little tiny contained thing. And this movie really acted a lot like a video game DLC, where it's just this tiny little story that it doesn't really matter at all. It's just stupid. It's just there so that they can make money. And yeah. So I'm going to have to give this movie something really, really small and meaningless. Something that is like, that's hardly anything, and that's not very good. I'm going to give this movie a bowl of Pops cereal. I don't know if you guys ever eat that. It's like this kind of, I don't know how to describe it, corn cereal, or like these little blobs that are yellow, and it's just basically sugar cereal. And I do kind of like Pops sometimes. But if you think about Pops are very, very unhealthy. They don't offer you anything of substance. And if you think about it, it'd be better to eat like a better cereal too. Because when you eat Pops, you don't feel satisfied or fulfilled. If you eat a bowl of like Oreo O's, you'll feel a lot better. And this movie is definitely just a bowl of Pops. So I hated this movie. I would definitely say it's the worst out of the three so far, and that's pretty bad because I did not like the first one. So anyways, please like this video and comment and tell me what you thought of the movie. As you guys can see, my sinus issues kind of went away during the video, and now they're kind of coming back. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.